that we have. Like I said, Pampacho, you're not really in a fully fledged relationship with your work colleague, but the things that are happening are pointing to what we're calling an emotional affair. Because an emotional affair is a difficult affair for most people because they fail to draw the line. Kutinda cross a line andina. So they're engaged with someone emotionally, and if you tell them that you're in a relationship, they'll tell you, I'm not in a relationship because this relationship is not physical. Trima friends, the best way kubasa, and it, or it's my gaming buddy. It's my gaming buddy, or you've got hobbies in common and you do stuff together and all that. So you end up being very, very close to that person more than the closeness. So those are the work spouses that we're talking about. But again, there are people that also advocate for them. They are good. It's good to have a work spouse. There are people that say that, maybe.
You're definitely not one of them, hey?
No, I definitely don't believe in that.
Okay.
But their reasoning is that when you go to work, you're going to spend maybe 8 hours or 9 hours at work. So you don't want to be lonely in that space. You also need to have people, even of the opposite gender, that you speak to, that you relate with, that you talk about to, and that you confide in concerning other things, other issues of life. So there are people that say it's healthy to have someone that you can have as a close work colleague, kubasa. But the unfortunate thing is that most people then don't know where to draw the line. I think it's overstep this relationship. It's getting more physical. It's now graduating into an emotional affair. Remember, in the past few weeks, we've been talking about emotional intelligence, emotional abuse, and emotional affairs. People fail to draw the line. People have certain emotional needs that are not being met at home, and then they end up being met by their work colleagues. And before you know it, a relationship develops. So it's very important for us to be aware of that. And kashinji kacho, my relationships anotanga through these work spouses that we're talking about. Kuti une friend yakwe kubasa kana muno kubasa, mato are very, very close to the extent of sharing even my deep issues. To the extent of sharing, talking about your needs, ziritori deep, and that person becomes very, very close to you. It's really unhealthy. So it's very important for us to take note of that. Very common work spouses. So for me, work spouses are a form of emotional cheating. As long as you are close enough to the person.
Is that not the worst?
Yeah,
emotional cheating.
Definitely, Erica. Mm-hmm. Emotional cheating is the worst. Because you're connecting with this person, the whole of your soul, the whole of your mind, and everything. And that person likes what you want, what you do, and all those things. So it's more dangerous. It's more dangerous even than your one-night stands, those kind of affairs. So, of course, later on, maybe in the coming weeks, we'll unpack some of these types of affairs. But an emotional affair is one of the most dangerous affairs because it's feeding on the needs that you have, very important needs that you have. You know what, I need this, I'm lonely, I need someone in my life, and that someone that you expecting to be in your life, they are not there. There's that emotional abandonment. So you end up going or gravitating towards someone who's giving you that emotional or that supplying that emotional need that you have. So work spouses then step in and play that role. The role in Fangeji play one as spouse wako arukumba. So they then start giving you whatever you need or your needs. Then before you know it, one thing will lead to another. The entire relationship to cross a line and all that.
Pastor Simba, whilst we are heading with this one, I think we must just note that we are not supporting this.
Definitely.
Especially as for Erica, because people would think I'm advocating for this. So, yeah, we are not supporting this. We are just speaking about it to make sure that we know it happens and to stay away from it, yes?
Exactly. Yes. Definitely, we are not advocating for
WhatsApp.
Yeah. We are just saying, in simple terms, we need to draw the line. Okay, someone is my work colleague. You need to know that's what's important. But we then take it all the way to the wire, to act up in a relationship, because we are not aware these emotional relationships or these extramarital affairs, no tanga, even with the people that you work with, and before you know it, tashka kur. In fact, some researches that those that have done researches, they tell us that at least half of the people that go to work, they've confessed, kuti, we've got work spouses or we have had work spouses. You know.
I think at large, Pastor Simba, we ought to then sit down and say, and talk about what makes someone want to get a work partner or get into a work emotional relationship so as to avoid it.
Sure.
I mean,
sure.
I stand to be corrected, but yeah.
Sure. But you know, one ends up getting an emotional or getting into an emotional affair because there's a genuine need that they have. Isiri kunotiswa the person, their romantic partner, the person that they are married to. They don't notice that need, and one ends up getting that need met by someone else, kubasa. So definitely people end up in these kind of affairs or end up having work spouses simply because they are getting something from that person that they are not getting kumba. There's a serious, genuine, I keep on emphasizing it's a genuine need that they have, and someone else ends up, supplying for that need. Wrong. That's why every now and again, if you're married, you need to sit down and have frank discussions where you talk about whether your needs are being met or not, But most of us, we hardly do that. Let's have what we call an intimacy audit, where you sit down and talk about what I'm not giving, what I'm not getting, Am I meeting all your needs? And listing the needs. You must also know what you want. You must know what you need. You must start off by going into, a self-discovery, as it were. What do I need from my partner? And then once you know all those things, then you just, let your partner know, this is what I expect from you. Though my expectations are good, this is what I need from you. Because if we don't do that, then people end up looking for some people that will then come in and fill in that gap. Saka, it's very important to have such important discussions. What are you lacking? What am I supposed to do? What are your expectations? Eric. Because if you don't do that, and by the way, you find out kuti kana munakatanga a relationship with their work colleague kubasa. Vakabatwa zvezve, they don't want to lose their primary relationship. By primary relationship, I mean their marriage. They don't want. Kind of statements zvanga 2 minutes. What they are saying is that I just wanted a certain need to be met by the person, the third part, by my work colleague. Muna aingonunzwisisa pandaitaura nyaya dzangu aingonunzwisisa muna anganika kunzwisisa. It's a need that is being met by a work spouse.
Now, whilst we have you here, Pastor Simba,
yes.
I think it's only fair for you to then answer the questions that come through because awesomely. So I'll take the first one. It says, is it possible to be in a relationship, in this kind of relationship, unknowingly?
Yes.
Sorry for laughing, but unknowingly just sounds like you know pretty much. But unknowingly, is it possible to be in a work relationship?
That's exactly my point, Erika. One can be in that relationship, are in that relationship. And then before you know it, a line has been crossed and the relationship is now getting physical. That's why we are here to say that there is something that is called a work spouse. And that work spouse is providing in some area. You provide your spouse back home. So you've got to be aware of such scenarios. Make sure that your spouse knows about your needs and you are very open with them. This is what I'm lacking in this relationship. Because if you don't do that, slowly, unknowingly, you end up opening up your arms to the person. This person has a need and you become vulnerable to that. And blindly, you start developing and that relationship starts progressing. And before you know it, matuamu full-fledged relationship. So, it will be just an innocent relationship. Just like most people then give that as an excuse. It's just an innocent relationship. Yeah. That's one of the excuses.
It sounds to me, Pastor Simba, like those people who date married men for 5 years and then go dancing. And it's like, but also. Anyway, I would like for you maybe to highlight for us maybe the signs that one can pick out from if they are unknowingly in these kind of relationships. And maybe if you could touch on both male and female, I could help you out there.
Okay.
And kanari munume, if he's in love with you, those angaita, mafraus, chiishi.
Okay. So one thing that starts happening, kana uri in that scenario where you have a work spouse, when you start doing what we call cribbing. Cribbing is when you are talking about your problems, your issues. Zekumba.
Cribbing,
Aiwa, kana kungotaura nemunhu, kubasa. Deep things, things that you're missing or what is not happening, the challenges, deep issues that you would not share with anybody else, but that person. So it is called cribbing. When you see yourself doing that, you're about to cross the line. Okay. Because it's important, Erica, for people to understand that one doesn't just end up in an affair, in infidelity or in an extramarital affair. No. But panetuma small steps to notorwa tudiki tokuti munhu anotanga kuita chimwe chinhu chidiki chokuti unogonafunga kuti this is just innocent, nothing is happening here. But before you know it, like we said, things then progress, and before you know it, patwani and affair kuitika. So cribbing is one of them. Then the other thing is when you stop expressing your needs to your real spouse. Arukumba. Remember, I spoke about the needs. Ukaona munhu wako asingachatauri nezvaanoda, asingachaexpress needs ako. Sorry, needs ake to you. They could be in the hands of a work spouse, of someone who's now, in that position where they can now, discuss needs emunhu wako. Saka it's very important for us to take note of that. Ukaona pangoita change kake kuti munhu aizimbokomplain achiti I'm lonely these days achikuudza, and they're no longer complaining about their loneliness. It could be that they're getting someone, to meet that need, maybe at their workplace. So you've got to be very careful. You've got to read between the lines. So even Neo as a person, the one that's going to work, the one that is a work spouse, ukaona sikachakwanisa kutaura nemunhu wako kumba about your needs, then definitely you found yourself a work spouse.
Yeah, hey, Pastor Simba Hansi apa unotanga uchiunzirwa iri lunchbox inenge iri fully packed. Apa madam kumbava tombode shima lunchbox. And then Pastor Simba I don't know apa kwai. Work spouse, spiritual wife. I'll take that again. Work spouse, spiritual wife.
My teacher akangoda ngofana do zvakasiyana, because the spiritual wife, it's not zvinhu plan to have. You don't plan to have a spiritual wife, but these are things that just happen, unplanned and unsolicited for. So, but with a work spouse, there are things that you do intentionally that will lead to you having a work spouse, unlike a spiritual wife. So then the second thing, Erica, when the relationship with that outside person, that work spouse, acts as an exit from connection with your real spouse, kumba. Kune mama told my exit affairs. You know that you have issues, kumba, and instead of dealing with those issues, you then use what we call an escape response to dealing with conflict. You'd rather then spend time with your work colleague. You'd rather spend time at work, buried in your work kubasa, and you don't want to address the issues at home because wautongoti zvekumba zvatopera, marriage yekumba apasina zviripo and all that. So you then you then find yourself, engaging more with your work colleague, who then becomes your work spouse. So let's watch out for that. Kana unima issues in your marriage, in your primary relationship, deal with those issues. Don't use your work spouse as an exit, as a way of escaping the issues that you have back at home. Kana pazvo zvausi kufara nazvo kumba, sit down with your spouse and talk about that. Then thirdly, or is it number 4?
Thirdly,
when you begin to use inappropriate terms like baby, dear, I love you, I miss you, sweetheart, honey. The people that just use those words to a work colleague, havana kana boundaries. And when
lunch kwakashata iri nepasi. Like But lunch, oh,
But is that person doing the same for their wife?
yes,
Bekumba.
anyway, moving.
But my point is that there are people that then use inappropriate language or terms like dear. They use these words loosely, and avatomboziva kuti ane impact yakaita sei. Because the moment you call me dear, inini I've got my own way of thinking. To me, ndatova muinner circle yako. To me, I'm probably, attractive to you. Saka, it's very important for us to, to think seriously when it comes to using these terms like, I miss you, sweetheart. Kuti uzotiexplainera later, kuti, no, I was just joking, azvibude. And it. So don't use those words. Mm-hmm. Then when you dismiss or minimize or deny or mock your, or mock my complaints, spouse your spouse is able to tell kuti shamari emotional distance pakati pedu. There could be someone that you're talking to or that you're close to now kubasa. And sometimes when they bring it up, we then mock such observations. We then deny or minimize them. Apana zviripo apa angori munhu kubasa tingosenza tese in the same office. But they've noted some signs. So it's very important for you to take note of that and act. Kana waudzwa, act. Then the next point is when you've developed inside jokes over years, now work spouse wako. Matwani tumoti inside jokes twenye ne language yenyu kuti mwana atombokuzwisise. So you're slowly connecting with that person. They are a work colleague, but you're slowly connecting. And before you know it, like I said, that thing will then progress into a relationship, an affair. So you've got to be very careful. When you start sharing jokes, couple. So you've got to be very careful which jokes am I sharing with this person. Otherwise, my jokes I also suggest you know what? I want you to be very close enough to me. That's why I'm sharing with you this kind of jokes. Then when you think or when you're at that place where you think this work person, this work colleague, anokunzwisisa kudarika vanhu vese. Anopesa kunzwisisa kudarika mudzimai wako kana murume wako. And when you're in that place now, that thing is about to turn into an affair. Because in your mind, you are thinking, you know what, this person anonzwisisa. And kukanzwisisa ikako kari more attractive to you. And it's what's attracting you to that person even more. So it's very important for you to be very careful. When you get to that place, something might develop. Relationship and you begin to trust them. And the trust our foot. Because once there's trust, then a relationship, an affair is likely to start. Because naturally, we gravitate towards people that trust us, people that understand us. Hey, that's why, if I ask you, Erika, I don't understand her. I don't trust her. Those are the small things that then make you, become attracted to that person. Because then when you also have, begin to have my date lunches, food, my drinks after work, friendship level. But before you know it, that work colleague will then become your work spouse and a relationship and affair.
Pastor Simba, before we let you go, I would love to have you address this one. It says, hi, Pastor Simba. What if you sit down and express all your needs like this to your partner, but your partner refuses to compromise or even to listen to you? What do you do then? What I take from this message is, weak relationship. What do you say there?
Okay, definitely I would say if your partner can ask then you have to outsource for solutions. Outsource for solutions, outsource for counseling. Outsource for counseling. Go and see a counselor. That's why it's important for you to belong to a church, have a pastor that you're answerable to. A pastor kuna pastor for free. And in the pastor, when you tithe in that church, you give in that church. So you've got every right to go to that pastor and say, Pastor, then if you don't belong to a church or if you don't have that kind of a person, then you probably have maybe relatives that can help. Or you can then outsource for help from, counselors, vanochaja vanobhadharisa mari varikowo futi, so you can just do that before you do something that is not right.
Yeah.
Because I don't want you to do something that is not right in order to correct the wrong that is happening in your relationship. You said, because my needs are not being met, Mumba, so I would rather get someone outside there to meet my needs. That's wrong. Definitely, I don't advocate for that.
Just an overall one. If you're just joining us as well, talking to Pastor Simba Woloza, and we are touching on, not we, he is touching on the work spouse and looking at emotional affairs at in the workspace. Now, Pastor Simba, you touched on how to make sure that this doesn't happen, how to look out for it when it's happening, because sometimes it might happen, you don't know. Also, you should communicate with your partner. And if your partner is not listening, or maybe they're not well within, you must look for outside help.
Yes.
Did I touch on everything we touched on?
Yes, definitely.
So now, as we seal this one up, I think, what do you say overally?
Okay. Maybe the last point there, take note of. When you're making decisions for each other or together, I'm talking about you and your work spouse, then you're about to cross the line. Decisions like, shama uri kuenda mutauni undinzirawo chikafu handiti, ende munhu wacho akutoziva chikafu chaunofarira, anokwanisa kutodecida ega ari ikoko kuti unoda chikafu chakaita sei, makutozivana zvokudaro, akutoziva lunch yako, and you actually make even other decisions together, matova a couple but iri kubasa isingazikani kumba. So that's very dangerous. So in conclusion, Eric, I would want to challenge, I know kuti pane ma-company executives that are listening to us right now, I would want to challenge them to come or to formulate or come up with what we call relationship policies. It's very important for us to have these policies in our workspaces, because the moment we allow for these work spouses and all these things in our workspaces, before we know it, our brands are going to be damaged, because a lot of infidelity and all these affairs happening. So it's very important for us to be proactive and come up with relationship policies as organizations. Relationship policies like, kana tiri kuenda kuma-seminars, kwatiri tunorara muma-hotels. For instance, Erica, let's have the bosses on 6th floor, nema-secretary tomaisa pa-first floor, rather than having them in the same floor. You know what I mean? It will bring a lot of problems. So those are some of the things that you then touch on in your relationship policies. Like, okay, when we're driving, kana tiri driver, Twitter say, varubina mota and they're happy, because you don't want to have one person of the opposite gender in the same car, vangori two the other person of the opposite gender, and driving for 400 kilometers. You don't want to do that. So you need to have what we call a relationship policy. Very, very important. So that's what I would say.
Absolutely lovely. I think there's so many nuggets to take away from this one. We were touching on the work spouse, emotional affairs in the workspace. And I do see some people on the WhatsApp platform saying we wish we could have an audio of this one. Listen, you do. We were live streaming on our Star FM Facebook page, and you can actually go. It's going to be saved, so you can actually go and watch it over and over again. Share it, please, so that people know that this is a no-go area. Pastor Simba, how do we catch up with you?
At me on 0773 000 000. It's WhatsApp. WhatsApp your name, your marital status, and your town, so that I know which broadcast list to add you to. So very important. Please add me. I would want to talk to you.
Absolutely lovely. And until next time, have a good one, Pastor Simba.
Thank you. See you next time, Erica.
Lovely. My name is Erica Ndoro. Thank you so much for letting me hold fort here. It's been a lovely time in the galaxy. I'll catch up with you tomorrow again in the galaxy from 9 until 12 o'clock. In between now and then, you catch up with me across all social media platforms. That's at Erica Ndoro. It's always lovely. Make sure you have a good day, TXO. Up next. And also catching up with the news in exactly 5 seconds.